Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra. If you have not done so, please do subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell so you know when I'm putting up a new video. What the media doesn't tell you about so-called conservative judges. What the media doesn't say about the implications of Donald Trump's latest Supreme Court pick, Amy Coney Barrett. She's portrayed as a conservative Catholic. And the media likes to focus on culture war, culture clash issues. Well, that takes the public's eyes off of what the reckless elements of the business community are doing to our planet, chief among those in the fossil fuel petrochemical industries. And how judges, especially so-called conservative judges, are undermining the protection of our environment. Now, I say so-called because according to E&E News, Environment and Energy, they pointed out in their article of September 23rd, 2020, in their article titled, "What Trump's Finalists Say About Climate Change," they point out, Pope Francis and the Catholic Church urged its followers to take action on climate change. The Church has called for the divestment from fossil fuels. But the problem is, quoting E&E News, originally from New Orleans, Barrett has family ties to the oil industry. Her father was an attorney for Shell Oil Company, and her husband has advised a petroleum producer in a regulatory proceeding from an organization called Earthjustice, whose tagline is, "Because the planet needs a good lawyer." Their article, "The Planet Cannot Afford a Risky Choice for Supreme Court," September 25, 2020. Little is known about her environmental record, but what little is known raises concerns. So-called conservative justices will very often use narrow interpretations of the law to block environmental protections. Earthjustice gave an example which was referring to a case, U.S. Court of Appeals for 7th Circuit, Orchard Hill Building Company versus United States Army Corps of Engineers, where, according to Earthjustice, Barrett's record demonstrates her willingness to interpret environmental laws, like the Clean Water Act, narrowly in favor of industry interests. In 2018, she joined an opinion ruling that the Army Corps of Engineers had no authority to protect a wetland from destruction by a large development firm. So I took a look at that case for you, and it came down to what constitutes jurisdictional waters of the United States. Now, after that specific case, and those specific ties to the oil and gas industry, most of the environmental literature I looked at goes on to talk about conservative judges in general, and how Ms. Barrett will probably follow along with them. Judge Barrett appears willing to undermine our environmental laws by reviving the non-delegation doctrine. For 80 years, Supreme Court rulings have recognized that Congress cannot engage in the minutia of federal regulation, and that Congress must be allowed to delegate to the agencies, like the EPA, to flesh out those details. In recent years, one of the articles calls right-wing judges have sought to overturn those precedents on behalf of powerful corporate interests. Now think about it from a practical standpoint. Imagine that gas station, or imagine that lawn pesticide application company, and the legislative branch trying to list every detail of what they should be doing exactly with those hazardous chemicals. Does that sound practical? Barrett was a clerk and apparent protege of the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. Justice Scalia was the lead architect of doctrines that have made it increasingly difficult for citizens to sue the government. This has to do with a legal doctrine referred to as standing to sue. You can think of it as, imagine you're standing before that judge, and the judge is determining whether you have any business standing there. Well, what gives someone standing to sue, or the plaintiff, is they have to prove they suffered some sort of harm, that the injury or the harm is traceable to the defendant, and that the result of the lawsuit would somehow rectify the damage done. Quoting, "Some justices on the court, like Roberts and Clarence Thomas, are already skeptical about whether groups have the right to sue the government over climate change." A case many environmentalists are worried about is called Massachusetts versus EPA, discussed in Grist. Their article titled, "Supreme Court Disaster. Why Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court would be a climate disaster," by Shannon Osaka, September 25, 2020. A 2007 Supreme Court case in which 12 states and several cities, most of whom I'm presuming are Democrat, sued to call on the agency, the EPA, to regulate greenhouse gas emissions. Well, a narrow 5-4 decision found the plaintiffs did have standing to sue. But only one of those justices is still on the Supreme Court today. Chief Justice Roberts wrote a, quote, scathing dissent, believing the plaintiffs did not have standing to sue. Quoting Grist, "If Barrett and other conservative justices follow in Roberts' footsteps, the outcome could be catastrophic. If these groups don't have the right to sue, then a hostile White House could gut even more environmental regulations and continue to ignore climate change with nothing standing in the way." I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. Please click that notification bell. Please comment, and mannerly comments preferred, and if you feel so inclined, please support a Patreon. This video took over 16 hours to put together between different takes, research, etc. The link to Patreon, you can find it beneath the YouTube channel. And until next time, as always, peace be with you.